This is Joe Dedman on the line.
Hi, Sheriff. Thank you.
Good morning.
All right, Sheriff. I show we have a quorum of 7. We've also got a few more that confirmed they would attend, but we should be good to get started.
Thank you very much, Ann. If you could go ahead and do roll call and we'll get going.
All righty. Chief Solberg,
I'm here.
Kent Volkmer,
Present via Zoom.
Joe Brocious,
I'm here.
Sheriff Dedman,
Here.
Director Jorgensen, Susan Trask for Director, Colonel Heston Silbert,
Walter Mercer for Heston Silbert.
Rachel Mitchell, Sheriff Paul Penzone,
Dave Letourneau for Sheriff Penzone.
Chief Alanese, Robert Smith, Brian Wright, and Brad Conley.
Brad's here.
Great. Thanks, Brad.
All right. As Ann stated, we have a quorum. Let's see. Next up, go right into the chairman's work. Do we need to approve the minutes?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Sorry. That is me. I should have read it again before. Hopefully you all read and reviewed the September 16th, 2022 minutes. If prepared, if you could, if we get a motion to approve those.
Motion.
Thank you, Brad. I believe that was second.
Second.
Thank you, Letourneau. Dave. All in favor of approving the minutes, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you all. Next topic, going to Director McGuffin for your report.
Mr. Chairman, members, good morning. First thing on my agenda is to confirm the 2023 meeting dates that were sent out in the information with the agenda. So everything looks pretty much the same as this year. The one I think that we moved around a little bit was the March meeting to hopefully not have conflicts with spring break and such. So we just need to know if everybody is good with those.
Take silence as a good.
Okay. All right, then we will set those and then move on. I wanted to give a couple, there's been a lot of activity with ACT as we would expect. The subscription was paid the first week of October, so our period of subscription is running from September of this year to September of next year. We've had a lot of back and forth on that. We know that there were some issues with just the financial aspects of it. It looks like we're probably going to get about $2,000 back into the task force budget based on some sales tax that wasn't necessarily appropriate to be charged. So that should be coming their way. As of early October, DPS opened the system for agencies to test their new location compliance data fields. So those agencies will have about 3.5 months for, of course, that deadline of January 31st to become location compliant. And then you know, in our work with the database, we found that we've had a need to understand certain aspects of how data is entered at the individual police agency level. And I just wanted to acknowledge and thank Chief Solberg for facilitating an orientation with personnel from Gilbert PD. Frank and Mary from DIFI went out to Gilbert and sat with those employees who entered those records, and they gained a lot from that, and it really helps us understand how information is going into the database. So thank you for that, Chief. The ATA hosted the October meeting of the Arizona Automobile Theft Investigators Association. Mary Gordon and I gave a presentation on the ACT database. And at that meeting, we had interest from to access ACT from several different stakeholders, one of those being Border Patrol. And we had a meeting set with them this week to discuss what they exactly were interested in. They unfortunately had to cancel, but we will be setting up a meeting with them in the future. So again, there's a lot of stuff going on with ACT. It seems like its information is changing easily on a weekly basis, but I would say that everything is going well. So I wanted to talk about kind of an ACT success story. I'm not going to credit ACT with all of this, but ACT certainly played a role in it. And that has to do with the hot sheet. And if you're not familiar with what a hot sheet is, it's a listing of stolen vehicles that is pulled from ACIC. And it's a tool used by detectives to identify stolen vehicles when there is no VIN or license plate that's available to them. So we were alerted to a problem when DPS located a stolen vehicle from the hot sheet, and it was actually a recovered vehicle that was no longer stolen, which of course, you know, obviously is a real problem. So running the vehicle in ACT confirmed a coding error in the hot sheet, and also the coding error existed in ACT. So we worked with the developer at Planet, and this is really good credit to to Mary and Michael, the DIFI and DPS analysts, who worked with DPS IT to correct the hot sheet errors. And the result was pretty impressive. Numerous inaccurate, outdated records were cleaned up, and the hot sheet was pared down from about 1,700 pages to around 750 pages. And the original hot sheet listed upwards of 60,000 stolen vehicles, and it's now closer to 30,000. So not only was the information significantly more accurate at the end of this, but it also helps prevent dangerous encounters in the field. So this was just one of those situations where when you have two different entities and you have somebody who really knows how to go in and look at the coding and identify problems, it just allowed us to really do a really incredible thing when it came to officer safety and you know, just public safety out there. So with that, then I'll go into just wanted to show a couple slides. So if I could get Amanda to pull up some slides. So I'm going to be talking about the 2021 stats that we've seen come out this in the last couple of weeks, and some year-to-date statistics from, or at least what we have, that 6-month period in ACT. So Amanda, if you could go to the first slide. As everybody is probably aware, you know, we use a variety of stat sources in a variety of ways. So we use NICB stats, we use DPS stats, we use the FBI, and now, fortunately, we get to use ACT stats as well. You can't compare one source with another because they never match. It's kind of it's probably true of all crime stats, but it's certainly true of vehicle theft stats and recovery stats. Depending on where you look, it will be dependent on what answer you get. So they're all different. And historically, we have always relied on FBI stats. And that's been the one consistent thing that we've been able to show over the last 2 decades or so, using those stats. But last year, we seem to have a problem with FBI stats, and this year they're really out of whack. And so they're not complete stats, or I don't think we're going to be able to use FBI stats at all. And part of that reason is because the FBI is, you know, transitioning to NIBRs. That's what they're reporting. But a lot of the agencies that report up to the FBI are not NIBRs compliant yet. So the stats are just not there. They're not going into the system, and it's not worth considering. But as you'll see on the slide that's up, I've listed 3 years, 3 years of 2019, 2020, and 2021, and the top is NICB listings, and the bottom is the new DPS stats that they're producing now. And you see that 2021, that far right column, is significantly higher by about 2,000 thefts in both DPS and NICB. And it's important to note that the DPS stats, I put an asterisk there because the tribal nations do not report through DPS. They report directly to DOJ, and then DOJ reports on to the FBI. So those numbers would probably be a couple thousand higher with DPS as well. It would give the indication that we're seeing a big uptick in stolen vehicles. And I just wanted to kind of talk through this and say that as agencies transition to NIBRs, what we're seeing is more accurate reporting. So it's definitely not necessarily an increase in volume of crime. I can't tell you that there's not an increase. I will have a slide that will maybe for a different time period that will show that maybe we're not looking at any increases. But I confirmed this through DPS, and they said they are definitely seeing an increase in statistics based on NIBRs reporting. So again, we expected this to happen. NIBRs reports everything. The UCR, the previous way that the FBI did it, only took the most serious crime. So I think we just have to look at these stats and just kind of take them for what they are. And then, so I guess if there's no questions on that, I just say we will probably use the NICB stats this year just as a kind of a placeholder because we don't really have anything else to show. But we will, I think we'll definitely asterisk it in any type of graph that says this isn't just an increase, it's a reporting issue. So if I can go to the next slide. And this is a different time period here. This is not 2021 because this is all coming out of ACT. And as everybody knows, ACT, really the first full month of ACT reporting was in May. But we do have 6 months into the system now. And so as you kind of look at the blue, which are the thefts, and then the kind of a yellow-orange color are the recoveries, you can see that there's and I'll kind of go into this a little bit deeper on the next slide, but you can see that there doesn't appear to be a big uptick in 2022 so far. So if we can go to the next slide, I'll kind of talk through that a little bit. So this is the 6-month period, and it's showing 10,653 total thefts from May to October. The average is 1,775 thefts per month, which if you were to extrapolate that out with exactly the same 6-month totals in the next 6 months, we would have about 21,300 thefts, which is again in that ballpark that where we're going to see that number increase probably by about 2,000 from our 18 or 19,000 that we've been seeing in the last couple of years. The recoveries, 7,640 to that same period, and that's all recoveries. That's not locked into the month of the theft. So that's everything that's coming in. The average is 1,274 cars are recovered a month in the state, and our recovery rate is 72% with this data set here. We just kind of looked at the counties. There's still some county errors as far as location goes. We have close to 650 thefts that are not even represented here because they're showing as unknown because the location data isn't in ACT yet. But Maricopa, to no surprise, about 67% of the thefts. I expect that'll be a little bit higher when we do get location data. And then Pima County is strong, but back at well back, number 2 at 16%, and then Pinal County comes up number 3, but they're only at 3%. But if you look at even those 3 counties, that's it's going to be close to 90% of all thefts are occurring in those top 3 counties. So that's kind of interesting. And then the final slide here, I put this one up because this again is the 6-month look from ACT. And this kind of, I think, speaks to the issue that we're not necessarily seeing a big uptick in vehicle thefts. And these are the top 5 theft cities for the last 6 months. And the top line is Phoenix PD. And as you can see, that kind of bounces around. That's from May through October. But in the end, it is a 4% decline over that period of time. The number 2 is Tucson in the orange. They're showing a 3% decline in those 6 months. And then the green is Mesa, showing a 9% decline over those 6 months. And we don't get into any, positive, which is actually a negative as far as increases, until we get down to Tempe in the yellow, showing a pretty modest 1% increase. And Glendale showing the highest percentage of increase, which is 5%. So this, I think, just kind of tells us that it's, things are not spiking, I don't believe, and I don't think that happened in 2021, but I don't think we'll ever know exactly what happened in 2021. Again, I know I say this every meeting, but as more data comes into ACT, we're going to have a better handle on what this actually looks like, and we're going to have some good historic figures to go forward with. So, Mr. Chairman, that concludes my report. Unless somebody has any questions for me, I'm happy to answer them.
Thank you. Good information. Looks like there's no questions. It'll be nice once we get that location data to start playing with the data and see the bigger picture. So looking forward to it.
Us too. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you for the report. Frank, financial update.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. I'm going to make a little bit of a change to the flow of my agenda for today, but we'll cover everything. I want to actually start off with the Auto Theft Authority audit that we just completed. I'm going to turn it over here in a minute to Eric with Heinfeld and Meach. Just to give a little backstory to the board, this is our first audit since 2020, and it is also our first audit as a combined agency. And I guess there's another first. It's the first time we've done a 2-year audit or waited 2 years to complete an audit. So there's a lot of firsts going on here with this audit. And I guess you could say it's also my first audit as well. So with that being said, I'm going to turn it over to Eric with Heinfeld and Meach so he can kind of brief the board on the outcome of this report.
Thank you, Chairman, members of the board. The first audit was a great audit. It went very well. Thank you, Frank, for all your help. We issued an unmodified opinion, which is the best opinion you can get. Your fund balance increased by $1.3 million to over $12 million. So financially, you're stable. Overall, it was just a great audit. I can answer any questions you have about it if you'd like.
I don't have any questions. Just thank you on behalf of the board. Eric read through the report. Everything looked good. A lot of warnings within the report that are somewhat standard, just reminding us to keep everything in line. And Frank is doing a great job with that, and appreciate you guys doing it. It looked good.
Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, I do want to also say this, that the outcome of this report is not just based on me, it's also based on the rest of DIFI, meaning our Administrative Services Division, which helps keep in line with all of our accounting practices. So this report wouldn't have been very successful if it wasn't for everybody that works in that division as well. I just want to add that as a note. Now, let me go ahead and share my screen. And we'll get into my financial stuff. Okay. Just waiting for it to connect. Okay. Y'all should be able to see my PowerPoint slide. At the end of October, our fund balance was $9,732,769. Our revenue for the first assessment that I could actually say officially closed in late October was $3,619,328. Our investment income is at $48,142. We are seeing a huge increase in our investment income. I have been talking with the treasurer's office about that. It's just been how the investments have been changed and the interest that we're receiving on it has increased. So our revenue so far is about $3,667,470. Appropriation, we spent a little over $95,000 from our appropriation. So we have about $604,339 left to spend, and we'll show you how we're going to do that in the expenditure plan. The grant category, we have spent $2,691,771, giving us $2,718,529 available to spend. And we still have our Sims fund of $1,432. Any question on these numbers so far? All right. I probably will need to zoom in a little bit here, so bear with me. Okay, really nothing has changed about our expenditure plan since September. Everything is still the same. We're still looking to give about a little over $335,000 to DPS. Director McGuffin is still considering how we're going to spend the other $85,000, but everything else is staying the same. So that's a good sign right now. So there's no massive changes to the expenditure plan for ATA since the last board meeting. So with that being said, I will just need a motion to move forward with the expenditure plan as set forth, unless there's questions.
Thank you, Frank. Any questions on the plan? All right. With that, I will accept a motion to approve the financial plan as stated by Frank.
A motion.
Thank you, Brad. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, David Letourneau. All in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Devin, I'm assuming that was for an aye, not an A, correct? We had a little delay.
In favor.
Thank you. I assume so. Go ahead, Frank, back to you.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, that concludes my report. If there's any questions, I'll be happy to answer them at this time. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you, Frank. All right, next up is Ann, Public Awareness Grants.
Great. Thank you, Chair, members. We performed 2 grant compliance reviews this quarter for Maricopa and Mojave counties. I want to thank the staff from both of those agencies for providing us the documents and any follow-up information. We are moving forward with our final report for Maricopa County for this meeting. Mojave County, we had some additional follow-up information that we still need to get our hands on, so we'll present our findings at the January meeting. So for Maricopa County, for the 4 different categories, they were fully compliant in all of those areas for a final score of 45 out of 45, which is, again, fully compliant. So again, I want to thank Sherry Rindles-Larson and Leslie Lemens and her team for providing us all of the relevant information. So appreciate that. Any questions on that? All right. Next up, we have Amanda, who's going to present some of our public awareness campaigns that we've run since our last meeting. Our main one was really highlighting our vertical prosecution program. So I want to thank all of our prosecutors that provided me information, and from what I understand, we've had some great success with that campaign through social media. So I'll turn it over to Amanda so she can present that for us.
Thank you. So as Ann said, our major campaign this particular session was on our vertical prosecution. This included reaching out to all of our platforms, which again are Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, as well as LinkedIn. Overall, we had 2 separate campaigns for the vertical prosecution. The first one covered specifically what vertical prosecution was, what they did, and how they interacted and were grant funded through the Auto Theft Authority. I've got a couple of ads up here. Our next one portion of our campaign went ahead and featured some of the results from vertical prosecution, which meant highlighting some of our top offenders and some of the sentences, as well as restitution that they paid on there. Overall, this second portion of our campaign was extremely positive. In general, both campaigns were extremely positive with a lot of interaction, probably the most we've seen consistently when running a campaign. Our general platform was running every other day within the week. So some weeks we'd have 2, some weeks we'd have 3. But as you can see here, this first block up front is in regards to Twitter. We're up quite extensively on our visits and interactions. And this next portion is on Facebook and Instagram. Just a screen print from here on our reach as well as our engagement. Engagement, again, includes anything that's a click, a like, a share, a comment. So we did absolutely fantastic on this particular campaign, and it came as a good reach to go ahead and highlight some of our other programs, including our vertical prosecution. Are there any questions at this time? Hearing none, I'll turn it back over.
Great. Thanks, Amanda. We've got plans for future campaigns, include our holiday theft prevention messaging that we're planning between now and the end of the year. So we'll present that information, or just follow us on those social media platforms. You'll see all of Amanda's great work. So, and that concludes my report.
Thank you, Ann, and thank you, Amanda. Good to get positive feedback on social media for a change. I don't know if you guys get the negative, but I do. Next up is myself, Law Enforcement Subcommittee report. We have not met, so there's no report. Robert Smith is next with Public Awareness Subcommittee report, but he is not here unless he jumped in late. Is there anyone else that has a report? Okay, hearing none. Next, Vertical Prosecution Subcommittee. Leslie. I thought I saw her check in.
I thought I saw her too.
Oh,
Leslie, are you still with us, Leslie? There she is. She's trying to unmute. I can see.
Yep.
Okay, so we can move on to the other counties while you get your audio set. I know that we've got Nick Hartman from Pinal County.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Chairman, Board. I did want to address a couple big results lately. One of them I've talked a lot about, but he's kind of a prolific auto theft thief in Pinal County, Nico Biarco. He had several cases, and it was just a great investigation by the task force and working with the reservation as well. He was finally sentenced. He was sentenced to 20 years in Department of Corrections with a 5-year supervised probation term, which is fantastic just to get him off the streets. He was running with a lot of people that I've secured convictions on, such as his brother, Francisco Biarco, that I got the first felony conviction on. He didn't have any criminal history. He went away for 1 year in the Department of Corrections and then came out very quickly and got arrested on misconduct involving weapons. So he's doing 2.5 years in the Department of Corrections, and I'm closely monitoring him because I'm sure once he gets out, he'll be running with the same crew. Another person that I put away that I mentioned before, and it was also on the media blitz on social media, Martin Franco also ran around with Nico Biarco and Francisco Biarco. I took him to trial and secured a conviction of 29.5 years in the Department of Corrections. So we've really broken up that gang that was very dangerous. A lot of them, their MOs were to steal the cars, have weapons on them, and then commit unlawful flight. So I think that's a great resolution to break up that gang and secure convictions on all 3 of them. The second case I wanted to highlight, another task force case, Caleb Kirk. Once again, another dangerous guy. He's always arrested with drugs as well as a weapon. And at this time, the task force got information about a stolen motorcycle, was able to locate that stolen motorcycle, do active surveillance on that stolen motorcycle. And as they kind of pinned him at a gas station, he fled on foot with a handgun on him and pulled out that handgun. Luckily, Charlie Warner, which is one of our task force detectives, was able to tase him before anything went awry with that handgun towards any of the officers, and was able to take him down. I was able to secure a conviction of 17 years in the Department of Corrections. That's flat time, so he will not be serving any type of 85% or credit. He will serve every single day in prison of that 17 years, as well as a 5-year supervised probation term. So, I mean, him being in his 30s, mid 30s, he's going to be coming out in his 50s with a 5-year supervised probation term, which is great to hopefully properly, adequately monitor his kind of movement. Another thing that we've been dealing with in Pinal County, and I was at the Arizona task force kind of investigation meeting yesterday in Glendale, and was able to talk to a lot of the task force detectives and detectives from different agencies, as well as rental car companies, because in Pinal County, we were kind of running into a lot of issues that was flagged to me from Maricopa PD as well as Casa Grande PD, that a lot of these rental cars are being stolen or not returned. The rental car companies are reporting them stolen, as well as hiring a third party to kind of locate them and then get them back to them. But we're having a lot of problem with those tow truck third parties kind of hooking the cars and taking them, and then either not informing the police agency or informing them, an hour after they've taken them. You can see the issues with potential investigations as far as if there's drugs in the car. A lot of our agencies, if they locate a stolen and they have the appropriate means, can sit on those cars and identify who the driver was, what was going on with those, if guns are located in the vehicle. And the problem is kind of the tow truck drivers get paid to obviously repossess or take the vehicles. So if they are alerting the police agencies, they're kind of getting in a yelling match or a dispute with dispatch. So we're trying to resolve that. I made a lot of good contacts yesterday. I'm interested to get people's thoughts and talk about that further with different agencies. I think it mainly goes to a communication issue with the kind of third party tow truck companies and the rental car companies, and most of the trouble we're having is with the smaller rental car companies not adequately kind of putting in their notes to these third parties that this is indeed a reported stolen vehicle. You have to alert the police. So I think more of a communication issue that will be kind of resolved that way, and kind of figure out that issue. As well as I did definitely want to give a shout out to the authority as far as the PR push on social media. I did see that all over LinkedIn, Twitter. It was very nice and appreciated that about the in regards to vertical prosecution, and not only educating the community on vertical prosecution, but also highlighting our results and our work across Arizona. So I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Nick. I know Leslie's still having a microphone problem. We have a couple of folks from Pima County. I know I was just notified yesterday that Matt Ashton is no longer with the office, but we have Brad Terrace and Peter Goodman, I believe, are both on the line if they have any information to present.
Yeah, thank you, Ann, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Matt Ashton did leave our office to go to the Attorney General's office in early October. Peter Goodman will be taking his spot in early December. So in the meantime, we've been kind of repositioning our cases. We do have quite a number of trials at the beginning of the year in January and February. And just yesterday, we secured well, 6 different convictions. A man by the name of Roberto Mungaray committed 6 different auto thefts between October of 2021 and January of 2022. So he accepted a plea deal in those cases yesterday and will be sentenced in December.
Great, thank you. Do we have anyone else on the phone? All right. I've received some information for Leslie she wants me to pass on to you all. She states that they've begun their in-person meetings with DPS and the task force again, and it's been very beneficial. They go to DPS with the vertical prosecutors, at least one bureau chief, so they can discuss cases, submittals, answer questions as a group. They schedule this once a month from 8 to noon, and the task force officers have come in and go as it works for them. And that's been a great opportunity for them. And I can just add that Jamie and I were able to attend their meeting last month and found it very valuable. So we appreciate, the captain and Leslie inviting us to that. I think they meet again in December. And so one or both of us will try to attend that. A final note with the vertical prosecutor program is we are going to host our first in-person group meeting with all of the vertical prosecutors, as well as any of their staff, which we haven't done in a couple of years. We used to do it on a pretty regular basis. And so we're looking at, after lots of scheduling, and I know they've got lots of trials and busy schedules happening. So we're looking at hosting it the day after our January 20th board meeting. So we'll do something at the DIFI office. We'll bring in lunch. The meeting ends usually after 11. So we'll meet for a couple, 2 or 3 hours. We also have a couple new prosecutors one new prosecutor in La Paz and a new one coming on in Mojave County. So this will be a good time for us all to get together, especially for those new folks, to get some information from some of you seasoned veterans with vertical prosecution. So I'll keep you all posted about that. So that concludes the vertical prosecution report.
Thank you, Ann. And Leslie, sorry about your microphone, but thank you for the information, and to everyone else as well. Captain Axeland, if you get a report on the task force.
Yes, sir. I was going to give the LPR presentation first. Amanda, if you can help me out with that. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, the following is a brief presentation on automated license plate readers, commonly referred to as LPRs. Next slide, please. What is an LPR? LPR systems combine high-speed cameras and sophisticated software to capture and convert license plate images into data that can be compared with information in other databases. Cameras used in LPRs may be mobile or stationary, and are small enough to be mounted on police cars, road signs or traffic lights, or placed at the sides of roads or on bridges. LPR systems can collect a driver's geographic location along with the date, time a vehicle was in a particular place. Next slide. LPRs capture computer-readable images of license plates. These high-tech devices allow law enforcement agencies to compare license plate numbers against those of stolen cars or cars driven by people suspected of being involved in criminal activities. Hot lists can be input into LPRs to locate specific vehicles. The LPR data is captured by high-speed cameras sent to a law enforcement database where it is checked. And if an alert is generated, it can be sent to a dispatch center, an analyst, and/or a law enforcement officer or group of law enforcement officers. As you can see on this patrol, this is a marked K9 patrol vehicle. They have LPRs on the front bumper as well as on top by the mounted lights. Next slide. These are stationary LPRs. One of them is on a light pole on the left side there, and the other one is on a pole on the side of the road. Next slide. This is an unmarked canine vehicle, and it's hard to see the LPRs in the front bumper where that arrow is pointing, the yellow arrow. This is a task force pickup where we try and put the LPRs a little bit more covertly, and the LPRs in the back window there, they can roll the window down, go through parking lots. It's also magnetically attached, so they can remove it when they have to be a little more covert. This is the DPS has 3 of these. Canine District has 1. Task Force has 2. They have LPRs attached to a signboard, or they also run radar, so you can have the speed up the side of the road, and it collects a lot of data and information. Vigilant Solutions and Flock Systems are the 2 systems used in Arizona mostly for LPR. Flock reads 1.5 lanes of traffic, where Vigilant reads about 5 lanes. DPS primarily is using Vigilant mostly. I am in the process of an IGA with Flock to get on their system. The costs vary between the 2. Vigilant determines the cost based on the size of the agency. Flock just pretty much has a annual service fee per camera. Currently, DPS has 30 mobile LPR systems and 3 LPR trailers. 25 of the mobile systems and 1 LPR trailer are assigned to the Canine District. The task force has 5 mobile systems and 2 trailers assigned to it. I have budgeted for and am purchasing 10 more mobile LPR systems for the task force this year. I also have sent an IGA up to get into the Flock systems. Once we get access to the Flock systems, then we'll have to go to each individual agency who's running Flock and get permission to utilize their system. Does anybody have any questions?
Captain Exon, I don't have any questions. I'll just add on that we just finished our IGA, or I think we did a co-op with Flock Safety, and I know Mesa, Queen Creek, and Tempe have them as well, and quite successful with the numbers they're seeing, and I'm looking forward to getting it here. And I know we're all sharing our data, or will be, so a lot of information will be able to be shared throughout the state. So thank you.
I have one quick question, and maybe I missed it. Dave Letourneau with MCSO. Has anybody put these on motor units, motorcycles?
I am unaware of any motor units utilizing. We are not using any motor units.
Yeah, I have not either. I know, Dave, we'll be getting the Axon Fleet camera system next spring or summer, depending on when they install it. And those all have the LPRs within the camera system as well for all of the patrol cars, but that won't be till summer. I haven't heard of anyone doing it on a motorcycle.
Okay, we're about to go online first of the year with motors, and I was just curious if there was anything small enough, or if anybody had actually put one on a motor. Thank you.
Captain Exon, back to you.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, the following are stolen vehicles, dope seizures, and arrests for September 1st, 2022 through October 31st, 2022. The task force recovered 276 stolen vehicles valued at approximately $4,480,798 with 70 arrests. 38 of those 70 arrests had drug charges. The task force seized approximately 1.3 grams of heroin, 4.7 grams of cocaine, 6 ounces of fentanyl, and over half a pound of methamphetamine. The task force authored 5 residential and business structure search warrants, 1 vehicle search warrant, and 6 electronic search warrants. The task force had 451 other agency assists. The task force seized 4 guns, 2 of which were stolen. Staffing. On October 1st, 2022, the federal agency Homeland Security Investigations added a special agent to our task force. An intergovernmental agreement was approved by Homeland Security Investigations and the Arizona Department of Public Safety. Upcoming trends and events. Several chop shop operations have been investigated by the task force recently at salvage yards in the Phoenix metropolitan area. An operation is being planned to address this issue. The task force participated in 2 4-day Border Strike Force details in September and October. During the September detail, detectives served a business structure search warrant at a local auto recycling yard. Detectives were able to locate 10 stolen vehicles and 2 stolen motors. Several of the vehicles were dismantled and prepped for scrap sales. One suspect was placed under arrest for several felony charges, to include operating a chop shop, and 4 forklifts were also seized during this operation. On September 8, 2022, Task Force detectives, Yavapai County Sheriff's Office, and Prescott Valley Police Department, in a collaborative effort, arrested a suspect in Prescott on numerous felony and misdemeanor charges related to the illegal sale of stolen catalytic converters in the last 18 months. While serving a search warrant on the suspect's property, investigators also seized approximately 350 catalytic converters worth over $250,000. The suspect was indicted on numerous charges related to fraudulent schemes, trafficking in stolen property, illegal control of an enterprise, and money laundering. In October, 5 task force members attended the Western States Auto Theft Investigators Training Seminar, and 5 task force members attended the Texas Association of Vehicle Theft Investigators Training Conference. These were great opportunities for training and networking. That concludes my report, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Captain Axland. Appreciate it. Anyone else have any comments or questions? All right, moving along. Call to the public. Are there any members of the public that have any comments or questions? All right. Ann, any updates on current events or matters from the board? Or anyone else have anything for the board?
Not unless the other members have anything.
All right. I appreciate it. I'll remember to adjourn because I always forget. Our next meeting is scheduled for January 20th. And at 10 a.m. we'll be online again. And with that, can I get a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Motion.
Thank you, Brad. Can I get a second?
Second.
Thank Dave. Yep. All right. Thank you from Dave. All in favor of ending the meeting, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All right. Thank you all. Have a happy Thanksgiving. We'll see you next year.
Thank you all.